Imagine you woke up one morning, opened your phone, and found just one message. A message with no sender, no name, no explanation. Just one sentence. You will die on the 28th of next month. No comment. No details. No proof that it's real. But what if it was? Would you finish your coffee? Would you go to work? Would you call your mother? Would you cry? Would you laugh at the irony of it all? The truth is, this question is not just an entertaining philosophical thought experiment. This question is a mirror that reveals who you truly are in your depths, far from the roles you play every day, and far from the masks you wear in front of others. Come with me on this journey, because what you will discover about yourself in the coming minutes may change the way you think about your entire life. Psychology tells us that when a person suddenly faces a certain end, they don't go through just one phase, but through a turbulent inner storm with crashing waves. At first, denial. The human mind is designed in a remarkable way. It rejects what it cannot comprehend. You'll find yourself saying, "This is nonsense. This is impossible. There must be a mistake." And this is not weakness, but a self-protection system built into our very nature since the beginning of time. The mind needs time to digest what is larger than itself. Then comes anger. A sweeping anger with no clear direction. Anger at whom? At fate? At God? At yourself? At the life that gave to you and then decided to take it back? This anger is completely natural, and it is in truth a cry of love for life. You are angry because you want to stay, because you are not finished yet. Because inside you there are things you have not said, not done, not yet discovered. And after the anger, silence, that heavy silence in which a person sits alone with themselves. And here the real questions begin. Not why me, but what have I done with all this time? Once the first storm settles, the mind begins to do something it has never done before. It calculates. Not calculating money, nor accomplishments, but calculating moments. Those moments that passed like smoke and you never paused to notice them. A study published in the Journal of Positive Psychology says that people who live in the face of death, whether due to illness or a real danger, describe a very strange experience. Simple things become unbearably beautiful. The smell of rain, the face of a child, a warm cup of tea on a cold morning. These things that an ordinary person passes by without noticing suddenly transform into small miracles. Why? Because the certainty of an end removes the noise. All those things you used to worry about, someone's opinion of you, what people think, that project that didn't succeed, that insult you never forgot, the unknown future, all of this becomes background noise. And what comes to the forefront is what was always there but you never saw. Life itself, and the most beautiful and most painful thing at the same time, is that you will think of people. You won't think about wealth or fame. You'll think about faces. That friend you argued with and cut off because of something that now seems trivial in the light of this moment. That word you never said to your father before he passed, or while he is still here but you never found the time. That person you loved and never told. Death, or even truly imagining it, rearranges your priorities in a way no self-help book ever could. Before we continue, I want to pause for a moment. If you enjoy this kind of content that thinks with you rather than thinking for you, people are not one version. And what happens when you know the time of your death differs radically from person to person. And this difference reveals a great deal. There are those who are struck by complete paralysis. They sit in place, unable to move. Fear turns them into a statue. Every passing day they feel something being taken from them. They don't finish what they started, don't begin what they dreamed of, they simply wait. And this type of person, though they may seem the most affected, is in truth just like all of us when we live without awareness of the end. We postpone and procrastinate and live as though time never runs out. And when this person is confronted with certainty, what was always there is revealed, the fear of action. And there are those struck by the complete opposite of paralysis, madness. They decide to experience everything now. They spend everything they own, go everywhere they ever dreamed of, say everything on their mind without a filter, break all the rules. And this type breaks free from one of the biggest lies of modern life, which is that we live to keep up appearances. But the problem is they confuse freedom with randomness. True freedom is not in breaking everything, but in choosing what you build in the time you have left. And the third type, the most thought-provoking, is the one who becomes calm, who suddenly feels a strange serenity. They sit, they think, and they decide to live the remaining days with the highest degree of awareness and presence. They repair what they damaged, say what they left unsaid, complete what they started, and let go of what deserves to be let go. This type neither denies death nor runs from it, but faces it as a harsh yet honest teacher. This question is not born of our era. Humans have wrestled with it since the dawn of human consciousness. The Roman philosopher Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled millions of people, wrote in his private journal, which he did not write for anyone to read, but for himself as a daily reminder, make every act as if it were your last. He did not say this out of despair or nihilism. He said it from the depths of wisdom. When you live every moment as though it may be the last, you stop wasting moments on trivial matters. The existentialist philosopher Martin Heidegger built an entire philosophy around what he called being toward death. Its essence is that a person does not live a truly authentic life until they face the reality of their death openly and directly, because this confrontation is what frees them from the life of everyday concern, that life which most of us live, occupied with what people say, with what is expected of us, with going along with the crowd without ever asking ourselves, is this truly what we want? And in our great Islamic tradition, the command to remember death is repeated not as pessimism, but as liberation. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Remember frequently the destroyer of pleasures." And this hadith is not a call to gloom, but a prescription for wisdom. When you remember that your pleasures will end, you do not become sad, but you become more appreciative of them. And you distinguish between what deserves your time and energy, and what does not. The most beautiful thing about this topic is that it is not only theoretical. There are real people who live this experience, and their words reach the heart in ways no theory ever could. The writer and psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who spent her life sitting with the dying and listening to them, said she learned from her patients what she never learned from any book. The patients who knew they would die soon were divided into two groups, a group that spent their time in regret over the past, and a group that used the remaining time in love and giving and presence. And the difference between them was not in the circumstances of their lives, but in an inner decision. And this leads us to the deeper question: why do we wait for certainty of death to make this decision? You, right now in this exact moment, do not know when you will die. And this means one of two things. Either you live in constant anxiety about an unknown moment, or you live in full presence in the moment you are in right now. And the choice, as always, is yours. Let us assume you knew. You have 30 days. What would you do? The first question you will honestly ask yourself: is the life I am living now what I want? Does my work make me feel I am contributing something? Do my relationships nourish my soul or drain it? Am I living my life or living the life that others expect of me? These questions are painful. But the pain here is not an enemy, it is a guide. Pain points to the place where you need to change. The things most people say they would do if they knew the time of their death are not trips to Paris or skydiving. Research shows that the most repeated answer is, I would spend more time with those I love. Then, I would worry less about things I cannot control. Then, I would be more honest with myself and with others. Notice something important. All of these things are possible right now. You do not need certainty of death to do them. You only need a decision. And here lies the deepest paradox in this entire topic. Knowing the time of death may seem at first like the worst thing that could happen to a person. But many philosophers and psychologists and many people who have had near-death experiences say the exact opposite. They say this knowledge was a gift. Not because death is something beautiful, but because facing it honestly returns to the person something they thought they had never lost themselves. We live most of our lives in a comfortable sleep. The sleep of routine and busyness and deferred hope. And death, or even truly thinking about it, wakes us up. It forces us to be present. It forces us to choose. And choice is the essence of human life. Animals live by instinct. Humans live by choice. And the more your life is filled with conscious choices,